Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sean, and in today's video, as you've seen in the title, I'm going to be showing you how to make a beginner-friendly rhinestone image, just to kind of go through the process a little bit, as well as go over the rhinestone panel. And thank you to everybody that did comment on my community post. I did ask if you wanted me to go live and show you how to do this or do a tutorial, and the majority won, so video it is. So I am using Silhouette Studio Business Edition. You only need the Designer Edition to have access to the rhinestone panel. The free version does not give you access to the rhinestone panel. The Designer Edition, I want to say it's between $40 and $50. You can look it up on the Silhouette website and purchase it from there. It'll give you your ID number or whatever it is, and then you just put that in and it'll give you access to all the additional panels that you can't get with the free version. So first thing I like to do, of course, is pull up a new mat, or go ahead where I can create my new image, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose my font. When you're creating words, it's best to use a more bolder block style font. You can use other fonts that you choose. It's just when you're getting started, it'll be easier to kind of navigate and kind of edit when you're using the bolder block style type of letters. So my go-to will be Impact, and that's IMPACT. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then I'm going to come off over to the left and select my text, and then I'm going to just type out, let's do love. So that'll be the word that we will convert to a rhinestone image. Another suggestion would be to increase your character spacing. Right now, my character spacing is at 100. I usually take mine to about 115 or 120, just because when you convert your image to rhinestone, or your letters to rhinestone image, it will possibly overlap, especially if something is close together like this V and this E are, or even right here where the L and the O are. So I'm going to go ahead and increase my character spacing, and I'm going to go to 120. And then we'll go ahead and go to the rhinestone panel. I'm going to make this larger just so you can see everything up close that I'm doing. And now this is also the time that you want to make sure your image is the size that you want it. Once you convert an image to rhinestones, you only can move it very slightly before the image distorts. So you want to make sure your height and your width is where you want it. So right now this is at 9.459 by 5.559. So if I wanted to make it bigger, I could do that. And again, I'm gonna just make it bigger just for this video, just to make sure you all can see everything that I'm doing. But you'll want to adjust your sizing once you go in and do your character spacing. So next, to get to the rhinestone panel, there's two ways within Silhouette Studio. You can either come up here to the panel section and then just click on rhinestones, or you'll be over here off to your right hand side and you'll just click on this little rhinestone, or this little diamond image here, and then it'll pop up the rhinestone panel as well. So you can either get there from the right hand side or your panel section. So I'll go through the features within the rhinestone panel, and then we'll start converting this image, and I will talk you through that as well, so you'll kind of know what each of the features within this panel does. So Well, first up here, you have two options, just the regular, and then you have an advanced panel. The advanced panel, I'll do a video on this another day. This is really good for when you want to create images with multiple colors. You would come in here and use this panel. But again, I won't show you that. That'll be a long video. So we'll go ahead and stick to the basics today. And then so it'll always default to the regular panel that you'll want to use anyways. Yeah, I'm gonna just move my mat. Oops, I'm actually moving it the wrong way. 1 second. There we go. I just wanted to move my mat over a little bit. So up here, the rhinestone effect, this is how you actually convert your image. So there's 4 different effects that you have here. The first one being none, which is going to do nothing, of course. The next one is going to be edge, and that's going to give you an outline of whatever word that you type up. The next one will be linear, and that's going to give you a nice fill. And then you have radial. And this one is really good for images with curves or shapes, things like that. As you can see, like the difference in the O, how that outline is perfect here. But here is kind of needs a little bit of work. So with this one, it does give you that perfect outline, but as you can see, you have to come in and release the rhinestones, which we'll go over shortly, and kind of move some things around. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the linear fill over this radial fill. And I'm going to clean the image up a little bit and show you how to move the rhinestones around, or the holes for the rhinestones. Next on the panel is going to be the rhinestone sizing, and it starts at SS6, then goes to SS10, SS16, and SS20. Honestly, the only two that I use are SS10 and SS6. SS6 pretty much I use for hats or just smaller images, and SS10 is pretty much the standard. You can play around and adjust the sizing. I wouldn't suggest that, especially if you're just starting out. I would stick to the preset sizes that they have here. The spacing. I use the spacing on pretty much every image that I create. So I'll show you that in just a minute. We'll come back to that. But this you will use all the time. Well, a majority of the time. Freehand, this is basically where you can draw, or you can kind of click one stone at a time to create an image, or you can draw a design. I can't draw, so I don't ever use that, but it is there if you can so happen to draw. Release rhinestones, which is what we're going to do after we fix our spacing on this image, so I'll show you that. And then the last thing is going to be the totals. So the totals is for SS6, SS10, SS16, and SS20. So as you can see right now, it automatically defaults in Silhouette Studio to size SS10. So right now, there's 908 rhinestones. That's what it would need. That's how many rhinestones you would need to create your rhinestone transfer from your template. So this is very helpful, especially if you want to get to the point where you're creating templates and selling them. Your customers will want to know what size stone and how many rhinestones is this particular image going to take. So let's go back up to our spacing, and it's automatically going to always default to 0.039. So what I like to do is I just go ahead and click down, and this looks great, but you never want to have your spacing all the way down at 0, because that means there's no space between where the cutouts for your rhinestones will be. And when you peel it up off your mat, your image is just going to rip. So never use 0.000. Just never put it all the way to zero. The lowest I go is usually 0.010. And that still looks really good. Let's see, let's try 0.15. That looks good. And let's try. Okay, let's go with this one. Well, let me see. I kind of like 0.10 actually. Yeah, let's go with this one. We'll clean this one up. So now that I have my sizing where I want it to be, or my spacing, then I'll go ahead and release rhinestones. And if you notice, as I decrease the spacing, it went from 908 to 1,377. So this template is now going to take more rhinestones, or use more rhinestones to create your rhinestone transfer. So then I'm going to go ahead and click on Release Rhinestones, and you do have to have this selected in order for your rhinestones to release. And I'm going to go ahead and click that, and sometimes it depends on how big the image is or how many stones need to be released. It could take a little bit of time, usually not longer than like 30 seconds or something like that, unless you have a really large image. So while we're waiting for that, and it is actually taking a little bit longer than expected. And there we go. So they are finally released. So this is what it looks like when your image is released. You do not want to resize your image while your rhinestones are released. Do not do that. So how to start working on your image, or cleaning it up, or adding or deleting, whatever you're wanting to do, you just want to click off of it. And now it looks like the image that we just converted. But you could click on each individual rhinestone and you can move it around, or you can delete it, or you can duplicate it by right clicking and clicking duplicate. So there are, different options that you have in here that you can change on your rhinestone template as you're creating it. Normally, I only use duplicate in here. In this case, I'm actually going to clean this image up just by clicking on it and hitting delete. So I'm just going to go down this entire row and just click on it and hit delete just to clean this up. And you can play with this. You can adjust your letters however you choose, however you think will look good. It actually looks a lot better once you actually cut your template versus what is on your computer screen. So always remember that. Just trust the process. Go through, create your image, and then once you cut it out, it looks much better on the template, and it definitely looks good once you create your rhinestone transfer. And like that one, I accidentally deleted that one, so I can either right click and do an undo, or just come up here to the top and do an undo, and it'll go right back. While I'm doing this, another suggestion that I do have, if you're just starting off, the Rocket Flock, Rhinestone Flock is really good. That's my preference that I use. There are other ones out there, so definitely use what you like best. That's just the one that I've always worked with, that doesn't rip. I have transfers that I created years ago, and I still use it to this day. So they're very durable. When you're just starting out, I would suggest going to Amazon, getting some of their cheap rhinestone flock for like $10 or $20 and practice, because you don't want to spend all that money on more expensive flock and you're wasting it because you're practicing and you're learning. So just, a kind of note to take that start with the more inexpensive brand or Amazon brand and then kind of work your way up. So I'm good with the L, just kind of cleaning that up so it doesn't look too, it was kind of too full for me. And then I'm also going to do the same with the E, just on the inside, kind of clean this up a little bit. And so if you have a larger image, this process can become tedious. So just know, just have some patience, take your time. If you need to step away from the computer for a minute, do that. Just know this process, making these sometimes, especially if you're going to be making custom templates, it can become kind of tedious and time consuming. So that's something to keep in mind, especially if it's going to be images that you have to clean up a lot. SVG files, usually they convert pretty easily. There's some that you may have to do some cleaning up on, but I'm able to convert a lot of my SVG files really easily. And if you want me to do a video on showing you how I take different SVG images and convert those to templates, let me know in the comments and I'll definitely work on getting that video together for you guys. So this O, even though it looks pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on it, right click on it and duplicate and kind of just add here, and let me zoom in some more for you. So I just kind of want to fill that little space in that's right there. So same here, I'm going to go ahead and right click and duplicate and then just drag it. You just click on it, you hold your mouse down and you just drag it over to wherever you want it to be. And same down here, I'll right click and duplicate and kind of move that over. And then right here, we'll right click and you can click on any of these, whichever one, and then just bring it back over. Let's see, we'll put it like right there. So just kind of round it out a little bit more. I mean, this one is not a perfect circle, but once you create that template, like I was talking about earlier, it'll look really good. The V looks good, so I'm not going to bother with that. I think everything else looks pretty good. So I'm just double checking. And even once you do think you're done and you group everything back together and you're like, oh, let me clean this up, you can come back in, select your image, release your rhinestones, and make any edits that you want to. So this is not permanent, basically. And actually, let's see if we make this a little bit more open. And again, it is a process, but I find it really relaxing. I'm just so used to creating templates, but it's also fun too, especially when you see that finished product. And like I say, just trust the process. Yeah, I'm actually liking having the O being a little bit more open. And then finish cleaning up this one, and then I'll show you how to group it back together and then how to cut. And I'll also show you the settings at the end as well that I find have worked really good. I created a setting off of, there is a rhinestone cut setting in Silhouette Studio, but I kind of edited mine and I use that same exact setting every time. And that way my holes cut out and I have no issues. Okay, so that looks better now that it's a little bit open right there to me. Again, you'll be working, on your designs in the comforts of your own home, but however you feel you want your design to look, do that. Whatever you feel works best for you. So I'm gonna minimize this. And so to group all the release rhinestones together, you just want to click outside of your design and make sure you're selecting the entire design. So everything's selected here, and then you want to right click and you want to go down to group. So right here, you right click on your image and then you'll get your box. Eventually mine won't come up. There we go. Okay, let's do this again. So select all. And group is what you want. Now, on the flip side, if you feel like, oh, I need to adjust this on my image, then you would just follow the same steps. Click on your image, right click, and then you would select ungroup. And then that would release the rhinestones. Or you could just select the image and then go off to the side here and click release rhinestones. So now our image is grouped back together, it's cleaned up. And again, if you wanted to, you can click ungroup, or you can just click your image and click release rhinestones. It'll do the same thing, it'll ungroup everything so you can edit your image. Okay, so now my image is where I want it. Everything's good. Let's just say I'm like, oh, I need to make this a little bit bigger. But remember what I told you earlier, you're limited to how big you can make it. So let's play around with it. And it will let you move it. And then to a certain point where it will kind of start to distort. And see how it looks now. So you want to make sure that you have your sizing and everything correct, because this is how your image will look, and actually it's going to overlap on some of the cuts and it's going to ruin your image if you try to cut it like this. So I'm going to just bring mine back in. And okay, now that's not the exact size that I have it, but you have a little bit of room that you can adjust it before it distorts your image. So just keep that in mind. Always have your sizing correct first. So then I'm actually turn my machine on. So then you're ready to cut your image. You have everything how you want it. Then in Silhouette Studio, you would click send, and that will send it to your printer your cutter to cut. And I'll also show you real quick how to save it as a SVG file. So if you have a Cricut machine, then you save it as a SVG file, you save it to your desktop, and then you just upload it into Design Space and adjust your sizing and then cut it. And I do have a video showing that, and I'll link it below as well. So now, even though it looks weird, it's just going to cut out the holes we just previously saw. So this is the rhinestone template. It's rhinestone template material. That's what you want to select. Then I just created my own. and it's saying that my machine is not available. So let's see. Okay, so we're ready to load. And actually, I need to grab a mat so I can actually show you the settings. I'm just taking that cover off of my. Okay, so here are the settings right here that I use. So your blade depth, you want it to be about 6 or 7. I usually keep mine at about 6. Your force, you want that to be at 22. Your speed, you want that to be at 10. And your passes, you want that to be 2. So it'll cut out that whole, it'll go around twice. So that way it'll cut through that rhinestone flock. So again, your blade depth between 6 or 7, force 22, speed 10, passes 2. And then once you have your rhinestone flock on your mat and you want that the sticky side down, then you'll go ahead and make sure you're ready there and just click send, and then it'll start cutting. Now, let's go back to show you how to save it as a SVG in case you want to use your Cricut machine. So from here, you have the option to go to File, and you have the option to save to your library and save to hard drive. I would suggest doing both. I do save my images, the majority to my hard drive, but I do save some in here. So I have a lot in here that I have saved as well. So I would suggest saving them to both. That way you can just, it's always here, especially if it's ones that maybe you're selling or you're going to be using a lot, it's readily available. Now, if you want to save it, you would click File, Save As, Save to Hard Drive, and you'll get this pop-up. So I have a folder, Rhinestone SVG templates, and so you just want to name it. So we'll just call this one Love. And then right here, your format. This is where you can change it to a SVG. So from this option here, Silhouette has their own format, and then you have SVG, a PNG, a JPEG, a GSP, and a PDF. So you want to select SVG, and then you'll just click OK, and it'll save to your folder that you save it in. And then another thing about uploading an image from that you created in Silhouette Studio or say Shortcuts a Lot 5, you want to mark or write down your width and your height. So it'll be here when you click on the image, it'll also be here at the top right here. You want to make sure when you upload it into Design Space that you put your width exactly what you have here. So it's at 10.524 and your height is at 4.298. This is exactly what you want to type in to Design Space, and that way your image will cut correctly. If you don't adjust your height and your width to match the software size or the sizing that you created your template in, that software, that sizing, your image will not cut right. Either your holes will cut too small or they'll cut too big. Because when it uploads into Design Space, sometimes it'll upload as a huge file and it'll tell you this file is too large or it's not supported. All you have to do is size it down and then you can use it in Design Space. So just remember that you have to have the width and the height exact or your image will be ruined in Design Space. So that is how you create your templates, how you adjust your sizing, your character spacing, your rhinestone spacing, you release your rhinestones, you can clean up your images. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments. If you want me to do a more in-depth video with maybe a more advanced image, or like I said earlier, if you want me to do SVGs showing you how to convert those into rhinestone templates, create the multicolor templates, or if you want me to show you how you can also create rhinestone templates using scale 5 or shortcuts a lot 5. So that's going to run you about the same price as the designer edition of Silhouette Studio. It's really just a matter of preference and the machine that you have. If you have a Cricut machine, you would do the same steps as far as saving it as a SVG to your folder. And then from there, you can go ahead and get it uploaded into Design Space. So thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope it was helpful for those of you that are just getting started or wanting to learn how to create your own rhinestone templates. And I will see you all in the next video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. I'll see you all later.